Hey, I'm Susan Palmer of Lead Cat Press. This is my weekly studio update. Thanks so much for tuning in. I want to start off with asking you to subscribe to my friend Josh Klein's YouTube channel. He's an amazing guitar player. He is a great teacher, and he's got some excellent content on his channel. He's also very close to getting the required 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he's got some cool plans for when that happens. So if you want to hear a killer guitar player, get that in your feed. I'll drop his information in the description box below. So for this week's session, I've got, the usual 7 parts. You can use the description box there to find the chapter that most interests you. But here's what we're going to be doing this week. I go back into that warm-up exercise I talked about a couple episodes ago where I worked it through in one position. It's a 3-1-5 major scale exercise that I use as a warm-up. And I play it in all 5 positions for you in the key of C, so you get an understanding of how to kind of tie up the ends of those. So that's why I do those in all the positions there. For the reading, I dropped just an excerpt of a study that I really enjoy from this book, Classical Studies for Pick-Style Guitar. It's one that I recommend to a lot of students who are working through the Guitar Lesson Companion. It has some really challenging pieces in there that I think are really awesome. So I wanted to show you a little of what you can do after working through the Guitar Lesson Companion Volume 1. For the chords and grooves, I talk about altered chords. For the scales and soloing, I bring up the idea of transcribing and learning licks, and I drop some of mine that I've done over the past week or so on YouTube, and just talk about that process and why it's so important. For the theory, I'm just going over a couple different scales that you can use over different kinds of altered chords. For the tune, I played the melody in octaves to Bye Bye Blackbird, and my pro tip has to do with guitar cables. So thanks again for tuning in, subscribing, watching all my videos, and please go check out Josh Klein's YouTube channel. It is excellent, and you will not be disappointed. So I'm going to think of a C7 altered chord, and that just means that we have some kind of altered 5 and some kind of altered 9. Now the 3s and the 7s of the chord, those are the most important tones. So I'm going to grab the note E, which is the 3rd in the key of C, on the D string there, and then I have B flat on the G string. Now if I just flatten my second finger straight across there, I have D, which is the 9, on the B string, and I have G, which is the 5th, on the high E string. So what that means is that if I keep these two notes down, I can play a C9 chord like that, but I could play a C flat 9 like this. So I have E, B flat, and D flat. Or if I wanted to get that sharp 9, so here's my 9, that note D. If I move that up a half step to E flat, I've got a C7 sharp 9. And on the high E string, I can raise or lower the 5th. So if I play this G flat, that's my flat 5. If I play my G sharp here, that is my sharp 5. So here, this is one of my favorite chord voicings here. I've got a C7 with a sharp 9 and a sharp 5, which wants to resolve right there to F major 7. So that's what's really cool about, constructing altered chords. So you can change the flat 9 and flat 5s just by, knowing where the 9 and 5 is on that string. And if you work it out on the key of C, you can transpose that to other keys. So with this shape, I'm kind of thinking of the root note C being on the A string. That's kind of an anchor for me, and that helps when you're transposing that. But the really neat thing, this used to just keep me up at night, was that if we think of this as kind of an E string root, so here's the note C on the 8th fret of the E string there, I'm going to play, now I've got my flat 7, the B flat, on the D string, and my 3rd on the G string. So remember, down here I had my 3rd and flat 7, but if I move those two notes up a tritone, actually, then we have B flat and E. So they switch places, but the fingering stays the same. But wait, there's more. So when I'm playing those two notes right there, now I can alter the 5 on the B string, right? So there's my G. So I could play, there's my sharp 5, G sharp, or I could play my flat 5, G flat right there. I've also got my 9, the note D, up here on the high E string. So you guessed it, you could play a 9 chord right there. You could play the sharp 9 there. That doesn't sound so great. I usually alter the 5 in there as well. Or you can grab your flat 9 right there too. So in this chord, I like to resolve it like that. So that's how I think of one way of constructing those altered chords. And it's just kind of a trip how they change a little bit, and depending on where you're playing that. If you study with me, then you know I talk a lot about the responsibilities of a musician. And one of the things that I think is really important for musicians to do is to listen to a lot of music and to notice little sections or parts of the music that you really like, to learn those parts, dissect them, and then apply them either to your own music in some way or your solos, somehow so that it becomes integrated with who you are as a person, as a musician, as a player. And what I do is, I'll listen to music throughout the day. I'll snap a screenshot when I hear something really cool. Later on, I'll go back and have that time marker from my screenshot noted, and I'll be able to find that part and just learn it. What I've been doing lately is uploading those results to the YouTube Shorts. So sometimes I play it at full speed and then I'll slow it down just so other people can kind of get a grasp on what's going on with that and maybe learn it themselves. But while I think it's cool if my students want to learn all the licks that I know that I think are really cool, I think it's more of each student's responsibility to find their own. Because what resonates with me, some of it's going to resonate with you, but you're going to find things that are maybe don't, get me in my soul the same way. And I think that's really cool because that's how we get a variety of music. One thing I think about sometimes is how with YouTube, a lot of people are learning the same kinds of things all the time and, not really pushing the boundaries. And so I really want to develop each student's individual approach to music. And in doing so, that's going to really push the train down the rails, and that's what I'm looking for in music. So I'm just going to drop a couple of the licks that I posted this week, and you can feel free to check those out. But I hope you get an idea for this process. Now, I spend about 10 minutes a day on this. You might want to spend a little more or a little less, and you may want to have a teacher to help you dissect these or figure them out if you need help. I want to show you some different scales you can play over altered dominant 7 chords. And in previous lessons, I've gone over the dominant diminished scale. And I just want to walk you through that on the B string, because sometimes it's easier to see things when they're in a straight line. So the C dominant diminished scale has these notes. We have C, D flat, E flat, E, F sharp, G, A, B flat, C, D flat. So you could think of it as, you know, a scale you play over a dominant 7 with a flat 9, because we have this flat 9 in there, that D flat. That's a real prominent sound in this scale. But we also have an E natural and an F and, you know, kind of other notes that might not make sense at first glance. In a nutshell, what's going on is I'm half stepping into each chord tone that's in here. And I've talked about this in previous lessons too. So we have, I'm half stepping into the flat 9, I'm half stepping into the 3rd, I'm half stepping into the 5th, half stepping into the 7th, the flat 7th, and then again half stepping into the flat 9, because that's a real prominent tone. Now the whole tone scale, that's another great option. That is a scale that's made entirely of whole tones. So we've got C, D, E, F sharp or G flat, G sharp, B flat, and C. And that scale works great over an altered 5 dominant 7 chord, because we have both the flat 5 and the sharp 5, or sharp 4 and sharp 5. Now, the altered scale, that's a really cool scale. It's one of my favorites. It's a combination of the dominant diminished scale and the whole tone scale. So for that, we're going to start off thinking dominant diminished. So I have C, D flat, E flat, E. And then from there, I'm going to finish off with a whole tone scale. So I have a whole step up to F sharp or G flat, G sharp, B flat, and then C. My pro tip for you this week has to do with guitar cables. And you'll probably notice that I use a wireless system. I switched to that when I started teaching online. It just makes my life a lot easier because I have so many other cables rolling around here. But when you buy a cable for your guitar and your amp, I really encourage you to buy one from a local shop that has a lifetime warranty. And that way, when they break, you could just bring it back to the shop and exchange it for a new one.